Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got a video for today. And this one I'm going to be looking at all the updated allies. Now there's a lot of passives that I hadn't looked at previously or weren't working as intended previously that now are. So a lot of like the legendaries, or pretty much every single legendary, had issues with it. Especially like Queen Diana and Flashpoint Aquaman in terms of like Hear My Call. So a lot of these things weren't working pretty much the entirety of allies since August. But they've been addressed. The developers are actually focusing on allies now. Not only do we have Nubia coming out soon, which is a brand new one. I'm not going to be touching on Nubia's passives here just because hers could still change and it's not even released yet. I'm assuming it's going to be released when the Wonder Woman content comes out, which is I think like mid-October. I'm not sure if there's an exact date on that. I want to say the 15th, but not too sure. But I'm assuming that's when it comes out. But if it doesn't, once Nubia is ready to be released, I'll update it completely on those passives, but they could still see some changes. But in terms of like Flashpoint Aquaman, Batman, Queen Diana, all these have been properly updated and they're all working as intended. There's a few outliers still, but they're getting addressed. So the developers are certainly taking a more concentrated effort on allies, which is great because the ally system kind of didn't see much love when it released, but now it's getting that love. So let's kind of get in the video here. We're going to be discussing House of Legends bots because that saw some changes. Flash and Zoom didn't change at all. Cyborg didn't change at all. Oracle bot didn't change at all. Calculator bot, the heal was increased, but right now it's a bit overtuned. So it's going to go back to like I think like 10 or 20% of the heal. It just depends on what the actual percentage they set it at. So Calculator's bot is a stronger heal for yourself. Same duration, like 30-second cooldown. It just gets a buff heal in the heal when it releases. But I mean, it's a rare too, so it's super cheap. So if you did find that passive helpful in terms of stack overflow, everyone can easily get this for free in terms of the ally favor you earn from in-game and the daily login rewards. But yeah, Flash and Zoom didn't change, Cyborg didn't change. The main changes are just the 3 legendaries. So we'll focus on those 4 in this video, and we'll let you know. So timestamps are going to be in the comment section and the description, just in case you want to skip to a certain ally, you want to see their passives and work. But let's get into it, guys. So taking a look at the changes to House of Legends bot, there was 2. Let me just jump to it here. So the electrical stun effect shock jock has actually changed. Before it was like a dual pistol type attack, and now it's electro beam, which I'll show in a moment. And then the power back was anytime you stun an ally, you got a power return back, if you saw my previous video. And now there's a cooldown on it. So let me just show you what the attack actually looks like here. Let's set it up so I don't die. So now you can see that beam type attack. So it still does the same damage in terms of double on boss, but now instead of pistols, it's actually like an electrical shock attack. So let's jump and show the differences to the passive. Okay, so taking a look at the passive ability, Power Thief. Right now, before, in my previous video, every time you stun an ad, you would gain power back. So it was like stun, 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 stun. So as long as the stun applied, you got power back, which is a little OP because that's a lot of power return, especially for controller. Now, it still gives power back, except there's a 30-second cooldown. So we'll just show it here. We'll drop some power first. Stun it. And you can see 24k power back, which is based on the star level. And then if we'll drop some power again. Nothing. Stun, but no power. Stun again, no power. We'll wait for flux to come off again. That'll be over 30 seconds. And then power back that time. So that's the only difference. I mean, still perfectly viable for controllers. It's just it's not as overbalanced as it was before. So every 30 seconds you get power back. You can alternate that with your Suture Kohler, with your supercharge, whichever you need. So it's still beneficial, just doesn't proc as often as before. Okay, so there was some changes to Flashpoint Batman. to both of his passives, actually. So we'll take a look at Combat Suture. Combat Suture, if you remember before, every time you hit a weapon buff, you had a chance to grab a heal based on your position. So they changed that. It's not based on your position, so disregard this description. They just changed it to HP. So rank 6 is going to be 5, 7, 6. Rank 8 will be 7, rank 9 will be 8, and rank 10 will be 10%. So at max rank, you'll get 10% of your health, which I have 232,000. So I should be seeing like a 23k heal. And that's going to be every 12 seconds. So it's going to line up with your weapon buff. So at least that it was changed as well. The cooldown duration was a little bit weird, but now it's going to be set to be every 12 seconds at rank 10. So at least that's going to be lining up. Not that you'd ever rank this to rank 10 because it's such a minimal heal. And now that it's not based on your precision, which should actually be scaling, Prec DPS aren't going to spec health at all. Prec DPS are not specing health. They're specing, precision and might. So their base health is going to be low anyway. But we'll show it here. We'll piss off Doomsday, take some damage. So 23k. So that just shows that at rank 10, max rank. And then if we just wait and not die from Doomsday, we'll clip it again in 12 seconds. And there's my 23k again. So max rank, every 10 seconds or every 12 seconds, it's going to line up that I can take it. And then the other ranks are just going to be longer durations, like 15 seconds, 20, 25, 30, etc. And then we'll jump to the next passive. So taking a look at Flashpoint Batman's first support ability, Soul Detective. So you still get the defense increase when you're solo. For example, right now in open world. So it's solo as in like anytime not in a group. So it doesn't have to be like a solo instance. It can be open world. So defense is at 69,049. If we equip Flashpoint Batman here, goes up to 79,406, which is a 15% increase. But they've also added a secondary effect to it if you're in a group. So we'll add myself to a group here. So that now that I'm in a group, you'll see my defense is down to 71,810, which is about a 4% increase. So that means even if you are in a group in a raid, doesn't matter. Alert, raid, you will always have an extra defense increase of that 4%, which, I mean, isn't a lot, but at least it'll stack with, like, say, Mystic, or it'll stack with Everyman Prototype. So the situations where 4% defense will come in handy when you're tanking. The other thing as well is it is based on range. So if I get far enough away, like not unrealistically far away, like for example, if I'm right here, which is probably like maybe 25 meters or so. So like say FOSS 2 tanking on the tanks on meta, the rest of the group is elsewhere. FFE, you've got the tank on one side of the room, all the other players on the other side. Then your defense, guess I wasn't far enough away. Yeah, so you see there. So now it jumps up to 79,406, and if I wanted closer, or if a player got close to me, it's going to drop to 0, then go back up to the 4%. So you see, it's a little bit of fluctuation in defense, but at least having it equipped, you always have that defense available to you. Just if you can get in a position where you're out of range, like for example, probably like here, or the tank's running ahead or something like that, then you'll have that extra defense. So 15% defense is a lot. I mean, that's definitely a noticeable increase. You'll see that in content. But at the same time, you're not always going to be solo. You're always going to be in a group as a tank. So it just depends on the raid and how big the room is. But just having that aspect, at least now you'll get that defense. The group members won't. Just you. Anyone who has Flashpoint Batman equipped will get it. But at least you have some extra defense as well for some survivability. To me, is it worth it? No, just because Flashpoint Batman... I mean, just the Combat Suture, not that good. You guys saw that. It's a small heal. It's only 10% of your maximum health, which isn't going to be much, especially as a Prec player, because you don't spec health. I mean, the combat ability, the damage is nice on it. It's below Cyborg. It's below House of Legends on single target, but AoE is still good. Nubia's damage is really good as well, so it's not that far off. And Nubia is much more helpful because it obviously is a group buff and buff to yourself. So, I mean, is it worth putting it that high? Because you'd have to get all the way up to 10 to get that 15%. That's the thing. So if you have a lower affinity level, it's going to lower the defense that you have. But I mean, in situations where, say, you're going for like some kind of like no death feed or survivability in the lead is at the utmost importance, then yeah, you could pop it on just for that extra defense in the group as a tank, or as not as a tank, as a player. But it's going to be a niche ability, but at the same time, that's a lot to invest in a niche ability, because it's not going to be as helpful in every situation. But there you go. So if you recall from a previous video of mine, or you may experience it on live server, when you summon the allies at range, some of the times they just kind of sit and do nothing. House of Legends bot and Emperor Aquaman were the biggest examples of this. Flashpoint Batman did it too as well. So what the developers did was they made it so that the allies will not blink to their target. And what I mean by blink, so we're just in combat here. I'm not even at max range. This is like mid-range damage. So we'll summon Emperor Aquaman, and you'll see it in a moment. So he just blinked. The developers refer to it as a blink, but he basically just teleported to his target to be able to use his ally ability, so you still don't miss that damage. So that means if you summon an ally too far away, it'll blink itself to the target and be able to do that damage. So then you won't miss that damage anymore because you're at range. So just another helpful thing they did. It does delay the damage a bit. So if you are at a range, then that was an extra 2-3 seconds before it actually started to attack, because it had to blink the animation. So be mindful of that. But nice quality of life change overall. So with Emperor Aquaman's Hear My Call, this has seen some adjustments. Since the very beginning, it hasn't really been working as intended. Before, it only worked for Crystal and Fury, and that was like day 1, and then after that, it just didn't work at all. So it has seen some major adjustments in terms of how the buff procs, but it still buffs pets. So any pet that is impacted by the Source Shard or Godwave proc will apply the Hear My Call buff. So that's like, Crystal, Fury, Robot Psychic. I'm not too sure about Snow Devil and Swarm. Haven't used those in a while with Godwave, or I don't think I've ever used those with Godwave. But like, Quizlet, Grim, Pet Trinkets, anything except the turret trinkets. So as long as the Godwave proc works on your pet, then Hear My Call will buff it as well. And obviously those will stack. But in terms of how the buff, so the duration is 20 seconds. That means the duration is 20 seconds, cooldown is 30 seconds. Now in terms of the percentage that it's buffed, it starts at rank 6. What would be 3, 6 right there? So it's 6, it's 5%, then 6, 7, 8, and then the final one is 10%. So it's 10% buff for 20 seconds. The cooldown is 30 seconds. Now the trick to it is that you have to take damage for the Hear My Call proc to work. So what I mean by that is that if you're flurry shotting, or a brawling Shukum Storm Mastery in the back, you don't get hit, then this doesn't proc. If there's like some kind of AoE damage tick that everyone gets hit by, then yeah, it'll proc. If you're melee DPS and get hits with like splash damage, it'll work. Or the easiest way to proc it is actually with the amulet. So where'd it go? So at least the amulet damages yourself, so then technically it works from that aspect. So that's the trick to it. It does completely change that a lot. So if you're running, a most common pet build is like Source Shard, Quizlet, and Grim. So we got Source Shard, we've got Quizlet, and I think Grim was up here. So that's the common pet build. But now you're going to have to run Amulet, because the issue is that you're trying to find a position where you can consistently take damage to proc it. Because it's not like you can force yourself to take damage every 30 seconds. That's not going to be viable in content, just because it's, unless you're melee based, but you're not looking for ways to die, that's for sure. So then you have to run Amulet to be able to proc that. So that means you have to drop a pet trinket, which probably dropping Grim at that point. But it does change up the playstyle. So what I'll do is we'll throw an example on here with Robot Psychic. Get in combat here first. So the damage is like 2,300, just below 10,000 for the large hits. 25, 25, 25, 26, 10,000 there. Just so you guys can get the idea. And then now we'll put Amulet on. We're also going to make sure the buff is applied, so Hear My Call. So now when I summon Robot Psychic with Amulet, it's going to damage me. And now we're seeing 28s, 27s, 27s, 10,410 there. What we'll do here is, my gear is a little bit low from a previous test, so let's put on the proper gear. Just so you can see a more realistic damage increase. What's that, 347? Yeah, okay. And then we'll take amulet off. So more realistic damage representation of Robo Psychic. Sitting at like 44, 45s, 16.6, 44, 45s, 43s, 44s, 16.3. And now we'll swap to amulet. So 49s, 5,000s, 18.7, 48s, 47s, 5,000s. Now we got one last hit, 18.8. So you can see the damage increase. It's just finding a way to make itself, to make yourself as a player take that consistent damage to be able to proc it. And that'll work with any kind of pet, like I said before. Robot Psychic was the easy example I had, but you could summon Grim, Quizlet, any of the trinket pets except the turrets, Crystal Fury, etc. So it is working as intended, just a little bit trickier to set it up. So for Queen Tiana's Take That passive, this one's been technically hasn't been working as intended since the beginning. They have adjusted it and kind of clarified it as well. So it's not going to work in PvP. It's not going to work in duels. There's going to be no debuff icon. There's going to be no teller animation that the enemies are debuffed. It only works on NPCs that have a weapon-based attack. So if you have like NPCs that do like magic or like fire energy projectiles at you, it's not going to debuff those. It's only going to debuff like the standardized weapon attack NPCs. And you have to successfully pull them. So what that means is that if you pull and they resist, not going to count towards the debuffed. So that means you can't pull bosses. So it's more geared towards kind of like hallway fights where you just kind of have a bunch of ads. And tanks already have a lot of tools to deal with that in terms of like CC, in terms of chromatic emitters, stuns, heal back, stuff like that. So I mean, I wouldn't say there's too much practicality to it. Because the same thing, it's a 6-second duration. So if you pull them again, and it refreshes the 6 seconds, but at the same time, if you start like just mass pulling ads, they're all going to get immune and resist anyway. So then you're not going to get the debuff. So basically, it lasts for 6 seconds, and if you do a pull, it refreshes that duration if the buff hasn't expired. So in terms of its strength, so it starts at rank 4 here. So it's going to be starting at 2%. And then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the first rank gets 2%, and the last two ranks, 9 and 10, get at 2% as well. So at the same time, if you're not spending the full $200 to max out Queen Diana, you're only getting like 3 or 4% damage reduction if you keep it in the middle. And at the same time, are you really going to notice 2 or 3% less damage on ads, or do you feel like you're going to die if you don't have that 2 or 3% reduction? Where you've got allies like Flashpoint Batman, which is basically just buff your defense, just static with the Soul Detective. But we'll show it here. So we'll hop down to the Minotaur. See if it wants to cooperate with its weapon attacks. So ground pound is like 2k. Can you please hit me? That's the other thing too. Like, say if I did like Resonating Gale or even Am Splitter stuns. So I think if I stun them, they're going to be stunned for a few seconds. That's like half the duration of the Take That passive anyway. So I'm losing out on that defense mitigation, or sorry, that damage mitigation because they're stunned. So Doom Spoon is like 1,000, Hammer Throw 1,500. Are you going to big scoop me at all? Okay, big scoop is 4,000, 4,000. 23. So, okay, so now we'll confirm that we have it equipped, which we do, and then we'll just pull it. So big scoop dropped a bit, 38, 39. See, now they're blocking, so I can't pull it anyway. So marginal differences. But, I mean, technically it is working as intended. And you'd notice, in a big crowd of ads, you would notice a bit more there. But at the same time, you've already got plenty of tools, to deal with that. But, I mean, there's the passive. So you can see that it does work. I mean, I can try... Do we have a bird over here? 'Cause I don't think it's going to work on the bird. We'll see. I think that was like 334. Yeah.
We defend the peace.
34, 33, 33. It's probably not 10%. Might be though. Whatever. I don't think it'd work on the bird anyway because that's sonic shout and other attacks is not actually melee attacks. For 34, 43. Doesn't look like it appears to work on the bird, but it shouldn't because it's not weapon attacks. But there you go. So I wanted to briefly touch on Queen Diana's second passive, Don't Weaken. That's been working as intended the entire time, just on a group breakout. It's more geared towards battle tanking or tanking in general, just because if you use a group breakout ability, it counts towards that. But a player would have to break out, like if you're stunned and you break out, double hold shift, whatever, then that counts as a breakout. Hitting a breakout trinket does not work, so if you're a tank power set, then technically you could use this to proc it, but then those cooldowns are pretty much all standard at like 18 seconds. So for example, if I show you here, my might's 110,378. I'm going to hit Soothing Sands, which is Earth's group breakout. And I get the buff might because it's counting me as a player. So it'll count up to 8 players and stack the might. The might is actually pretty large for all 8, but it's just the thing, only really a tank can properly proc this because of that group breakout. So say if you take like a group breakout trinket, doesn't work. So if same thing, 110k might, group breakout trinket, which still applies breakout, doesn't change your might. So it's really just kind of focused on tanks because players in combat are not realistically going to get a breakout consistently. It's not going to happen. Like, it's going to happen every now and then, but are you going to pay, to level an ally just for like a buff every now and then? No, there's better ones, like at least with Nubia, which is more of like a cog tetra buff. So then at least that's consistent. So the reason why I wanted to cover this is that there is a bug with it at the moment. So if I summon all my pets here, this is more just FYI. This is getting fixed, but just in case you see it in a video or people mention it, just don't level it because it's going to get fixed. So we've got, we'll summon this too. So now I've got 4 pets on me. So now if I hit my group breakout, my might goes up to 115 because it's counting the pets as players in the breakout, and now it drops down to 110. So just FYI, just if you're paying attention, the pets are not going to proc the buff eventually. It might on live server. I'm not sure if they've got it fixed just yet, but just be aware of that. That is getting it fixed. So there's, don't rush out to spend $200 on Queen Diana to get that Don't Weaken buff. It's because it's not going to be there the entire time. So just want to mention that as an FYI, just in case you kind of hear it from the grapevine and you're thinking that you've found some kind of DPS secret. But no, that is getting adjusted.